Okay. Hi. I'm Akshay. I'm the vice president of the Data Science Club, and today we'll be going over data structures. So today we'll be talking about lists and dictionaries. Okay. So what are lists? Now, a list is basically like a sequence of characters or values, kind of like a string, but not really. If you look at it, it's like a sequence of values, and it's separated by commas. So we can create lists by enclosing elements using square brackets. So that's actually like a defining characteristic. Like for example, dictionaries will use curly braces and sets will use different things. So for lists, we'll be using square brackets. So we look at the indices of a list just like the indices of a string. So we start at 0 for the first item, 1 for second, 2 for the third, and so on. So let's look at X, right? Now X has an element 10, that's the first element. The second element is 20, and 30 is the third element, right? So to get 10, what would we do? Anyone like to answer, or you want me to just go through it? Okay, so you would say X, and then within square brackets, 0 to access the first item of the list. And now, as you can see, this is like setting the variable X to a list, right? With 4 values. And sometimes you can set a list to an empty list. Sorry, set a variable to an empty list. So lists are mutable. And what mutable means is it's able to change, or you can add on to it or remove from it, basically. So let's say we have the array X equals 1, 2, 3, right? Since it's mutable, we could change the second element to, let's say, 5. So when I say X of 1, right, it's saying, okay, go to the second slot or the second spot in the list and then change that value from whatever it is. It can be like a string, it can be a double, it can be whatever. And it'll override that and it'll change it to 5. So when you print out X, right, you'll see it says 1, 5, 3 instead of 1, 2, 3. So it's overriding the list. Okay, traversing a list. Now we can traverse a list using a for loop. Um, think about it like you're in a shop. Like let's say you have a shopping list, right? You're going to the grocery store, and as you go through the store, you kind of check mark, right, from top to bottom, I guess. The same principle here. You kind of go through every single item in the list. So where it says for num in numbers, print numbers, basically what it'll do is let's say for num in numbers. So for every element inside this list. So in our case, so let's say 1 in the list, print numbers. Wait, print number. That's actually incorrect. That should say print num. My bad. But yeah, what it'll do is basically for num in numbers, it'll print 1, right? It'll go here, stop, then go back again. And it'll say num in numbers. It'll go to the next spot 2, and just keep on doing that until it hits 5, as you can see here. Now a loop, now using this way, this is called a for each loop. This is pretty good to kind of access the values and see what's happening. But there's another type of for loop, which you guys are probably used to with the range function. So using the range function, we can say for I in range length of numbers. Did you guys go through strings? It's the same concept, kind of. So basically it says for I in range length of numbers, right? How the range function is, it goes to whatever numbers inside it minus 1. So let's say the length is 5. So it'll go from 0, we'll start from 0, and it'll go to 5 minus 1, or 4. So it says number 0 equals number 0 times 2, right? So what it's saying is, okay, let's access the first item in the list, multiply it by 2, and then reassign that to the list. Oh wait, I guess it starts with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So yeah, my bad. So this will be 0, and this will be 0, right? So it reassigns the first element to the first element times 2. So 1 times 2, or 2 times 2, or 3 times 2, 4 times 2, or 5 times 2. Does that kind of make sense, guys? Give me like a yes or something. Okay. So now we can do a lot of things with lists. For example, we can use the addition operator to concatenate lists. You're probably familiar with concatenation. It's when you combine two strings together, or in this case, we're going to combine lists. You can even multiply lists, which multiply the number that an element occurs. So for example, so if it's like 1, 2, 3, it'll just repeat 1, 2, 3 again and it like 3 times within the list and form a bigger list. Now, list slices. We could use the slice operator in order to get a part of the entire list based on the starting and ending index. This works similar to strings and substrings, except with strings, each element is a character, but for list, each element is a certain value. So what that means is basically we can kind of chop the list, kind of like a cake. We can chop the list from any side we want, and we can take a piece from it. So let's look at this example. So it's A equals a list of 1, 2, 3, 1 to 6. Okay. Now, when we're saying A, start from 1 and stop at 3, we're basically saying, okay, cut the list from here, right? From 1, and then go to 2, and then stop here. So don't go to 3. So we basically get 2 and 3 in our new list. So B is set to this slice, as you can see over here, 2, 3. So, and now here are some list functions. Python has some important methods that operate on lists. Append is one of those elements. Like we were talking about before, how lists were mutable. This is one of those properties. You can add on to lists. So when I say t.append d, what it'll do is it'll take the value string d and I'll just add it to the end of this list, getting A, B, C, D. So t will be reassigned when you call this function. And then there's the sort function, which basically takes an array of integers or doubles, and it will sort them. Oh, I think I didn't mention this, but what's really unique about Python lists compared to, let's say, Java or other programs is that within a Python list, you can put a variety of types. So they don't necessarily all have to be numbers or necessarily all have to be strings. You could put doubles, floats, integers, booleans, anything you want inside a list. Okay, so more list functions. Getting back onto topic. So there's the pop function. What the pop function does is if you don't put anything within these brackets, it'll basically remove the last value. Okay, it's like the exact opposite of the append function. Now, when you say pop one, it'll look for the first indices or index, first index, not first index. Oh, the one, yeah, first index, and it'll remove that from the list, and then you can reassign that value. Yeah, and then when you reassign it, you see how t is AC because the value or element B is gone. Now we have the other method, which is remove, which lets us delete elements given the element to remove, but not the index. So let's say we're like, I just want to remove the letter B from this list. Oh, wait, give me a sec. Oh, yeah, my bad. Okay. So basically what it'll do is it'll go through the list and it'll remove the first occurrence of the thing it's looking for. So we're looking for B to remove from the list. So when we print T or the list T, the element B will be gone. So the difference between the pop function and the remove function is pop works based on the index, right? So if it's 0, 1, or 2, while remove works based on the value. So A, B, or C. Okay, so that's all for lists. So basically, let's do some problems together. Let me switch it up real quick. All right, can you guys see my window? Chat.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. All right. So we're gonna run some problems, okay? So Do you guys want to try answering some of them, or you want me to just go through them? Just type it in the chat box. Okay, yeah, okay, I'll go through one. So let's look at same first last nums. Given an array of integers or ints, return true if the array is length of one or more and first element and the last element are equal. So first we need to check if the length of the array is one or more. So how are we going to do this? Is we're going to say if nums, wait, hold up. If len, whoa, I think I clicked shift. Oops, my bad. Yeah, okay, sorry. If len of nums is greater than 1, so if we have a list that has a length of 2 or higher, then we want to check if the first and last element are equal. So we'll say if nums 0, so the 0th index is basically the first element, right? And double equals nums -1. Now, -1 is actually pretty cool. It's the last element. What -1 will do is give us the very last element. I mean, another way to do it is saying len of nums -1, because the length will give you something, because the indexes start from 0. So that's why you have to subtract by 1. But once you do that, it should give you the same result. So we return. So if the first value, num of 0, is equal to the last value, length of num -1, or basically the last value, then we return true. Else we return false. I mean, we don't have, you know what, I'll just put it. All right, so now let's run our code. Print same first last. And then let's copy one of these test cases and run it. And we see false, because the first element 1 is not equal to 3. Now let's switch that. What do you guys think this is going to be? Should it be true or false? You can put it in the chat box. True. Okay. Let's find out. It's true. Now let's try a super long one. I mean, this theoretically shouldn't matter, right? Because we're only comparing two things. Oh, wait, I made a little typo there. Okay. Now what do you guys think it's going to be? True or false? All right. Okay. We got a false. Let's test it out. And you're right, it's false. So you guys understand how this works, right? First, we check if the length of the list is greater than 1, right? Because if it's not greater than 1, we can't compare the first and last value, theoretically, because that's just the same value. Once we gotten through that, oh, wait, hold up. We should have another. Yeah, just in case, like this is, if this is 0 or if this is 1, it should return false. But yeah, in this code, we just need to make sure the first and last value are equal. So that's why we have this. And if it's not greater than 1, so let's test out that scenario. So when we have just like a list like this, we should also get false. Does that make sense? Any questions? Okay, I'll go through another one. Given an array of ints, return true if 6 appears as either the first or last element in the array. The array will be length of 1 or more. Okay, so for this one, we know, like in the problem, it's given to us that the array will be 1 or more. So we don't have to we don't have to check that like in the previous problem. So what we're going to do is we're going to say if nums 0, because the 0th index is the first element of the list, is equal to 6, right? This means if the first element equals 6, or if nums -1, remember I told you this is the last element in the list, equals 6. So basically, we're going to return true if 6 appears as either the first or last element. That's why I use the or operator here, because it doesn't necessarily have to be at the start and the end. Then we return true. And if it's not equal to 6 in either of these scenarios, then we return false. Okay, so we'll okay, so what do you guys think it's going to return, true or false? Put the answers in the chat box. Oh, I can make polls. That's crazy. All right, never mind. That's too much work. Oh, you guys think it's going to be true or false? All right, true. We got one true. All right, let's test it. And Derek's right. It's true. All right, let me comment this code out. Okay, now I'm going to run. Now let's run through the test scenarios. So let's copy this one. So since 6 is the first element in the list, it should theoretically be true, which it is. And then last but not least, this one. Since 6 isn't either the first or last element, this should also theoretically be false, and it's false. Okay, let's move on to the next one. Return an int array length 3 containing the first 3 digits of pi 314. Make pi 314. Okay, I mean, this is pretty simple. All we have to do is say return, because the function will return the list value. And then we put in the brackets 314. Okay? This is how we create or add values into an array. We put the square brackets, which indicate that this is a list. And then within it, we put whatever type we want. So in our case, we put integers. And now when I run the make pi function, we should see 314. Oh, oops, I forgot to put we should see 314, which we do. Now, ooh, this one looks pretty long. Given 2 arrays of ints A and B, return true if they have been in the same first element or have the same last element. Both arrays will be a length of 1 or more. So let's kind of look at the approach we did. Anyone want to speak, or you just want to like use the chat box? Just type that in real quick. Okay, I'll just continue then. So we're given 2 arrays of integers, right? So we know A and B are 2 arrays. And now we need to check if the first element is the same or if the last element is the same for both of them. So if they both share the same first element or if they both share the same last element. Now to do that, all we have to do is say if A 0th index, which indicates the first item, double equals, which means equal to or is equal to B. Oh, shoot. Is equal to 0. B of 0. So what this is saying is the first element of the list A equal to the first element of list B? Or is someone in? Participants. Yeah, so sorry. Or if A comma -1 is equal to B -1, which means is the last element of A equal to the last element of B. So the scenario is asking is if the first elements of the both of the lists are equal, or if the last elements of both of the lists are equal. Then if that case is true, then we return true. Else we return false. So let's do common end. That's the function's name. Let's print out the value. So print common end. And within the square brackets, let's copy paste this. Based on the values, the last value of A is equal to the last value of B. So this should theoretically say true, which it does. Now, to make this false, all I would have to change is make the last value into 2 or something that's not equal to 3. And we get a false for that. So I can run through the rest of the scenarios. So in this case, 1 is not equal to 7, 3 is not equal to 2. So theoretically, this should be false. On this one, 1 is equal to 1. So the first elements match, and 3 equals to 3. So theoretically, this should be true, which it is. Now, sum 3. Give an array of ints length 3, return the sum of all the elements. So basically, this is asking us to add all of them together. So let's create a variable total equals 0. Now, total is going to store the value of the list, okay? Then we're going to do for x, for n in nums, right? Which means for every number or inside nums, the list nums, perform an action. So we're going to say total plus equals n. Now, what n represents is 1, 2, and 3 individually. Nums represents them as a whole or the list. So this basically n iterates through the nums list. And then it adds its value onto total. And once we're done, we say return total. And this will give us the sum of the list. So let's say sum 3, and then put this in there. Okay. So this should theoretically print out 6. And it prints out 6. Okay, cool. This should print out 18. It prints out 18. So how this works is, let me break it down step by step. So it says for n in nums, right? Or basically for 5 in 5, 11, 12, right? This scenario, okay? And then it says total, which is 0. Total plus equals n, which is basically saying total equals total plus n, right? Or the current value of n. So it's saying total equals 0 plus 5, right? Which means, so total equals 5. And then it starts over again. It says for n in nums. Instead, it starts at 11. So it says for 11 in 5, 11, 2. Total, so 5, total equals total plus n. So total plus n. So now we start off at 5. N is now 11. And now total equals 16. Now the list goes to the loop goes to the last value in the list, which is 2. So for 2 in 5, 11, 2, total plus equals 2, or 16 plus 2, which equals 18. And that's how we get our sum. Now, this one's a little complicated, I guess. So it says, given an array of integers length 3, return an array where the elements rotated left. So 1, 2, 3 yields 2, 3, 1. So basically it's asking us to basically move this 3 spaces and bring it back. So 2 would go 3 indices away. So it's starting here. It goes 1, 2, 3. So 2 would be here, 3 would be here, and 1 would be here, right? Now to perform this, all we need to do is say for n in nums. Okay, for number, so for each element inside the list nums, what we're gonna do is we're gonna say, all right, actually no, I want to do the range. For I in range len nums. The reason why I'm doing this is so then I can change the values of nums. With the for each loop, I can only read the values of nums. By using the range function, I'm able to change or modify what happens inside the nums list. So for I in range len nums, what we're gonna say is we're gonna save the first value. We're gonna create a variable called temp, and temp equals nums I. So in our case, temp will store the first value 1. Okay. And now we want to basically flip flop these two. So 2 goes here and 1 goes here. Okay. So to do that, we stored the first value, and now we had to set nums I to equal to nums I plus 1. Okay. Or the next element in the list. So temp will be equal to 1. Nums I will equal, nums I will be equal to 2. And then we change nums I plus 1, or the second element in the list, to temp. So by doing this, what we're basically doing is we're saying temp equals nums I, or temp equals 1. And then the first element now equals the second element, or the first element equals 2. And then we're saying the second element now equals 1. So essentially what we did was we swapped the first and second elements together. And then we want to return nums. So let's print this out. Print rotate left 3, 1, 2, 3. Okay, and let's run it, and we should get an error. Now, the reason for this error is when we go through the length I in range to the end, right? We're actually going from a range of 0 to 2, okay? Now, our list has an index that goes from 0, 1, 2, right? That makes sense. Now, the issue is we have I plus 1. So when we reach the final item in the list 2, so temp equals nums 2, or the second index of the list. So it equals 3. That's all fine. The second index equals nums third index. Now that's an issue because we don't have a third index in our list, and that's why we're getting this error. Now to fix this, all we have to do is just -1 from the range. So then essentially it stops at 1. So this will say the second item, the first index equals the second index, and the second index equals the temporary value. So then we won't be going out of range of the list. So when we run this, we should get our shuffled list. And we can try with this value. $11.95. Try with this. 700. And boom, it shifts it to the left. Now, reversing kind of has the similar principle. All we have to do is we basically have to count from reverse. So what we do is we say for this one, I'm actually going to create another list. So I'm going to call it res or results. I'm going to say for n in nums, for n in range, and so basically I'm saying for n in a range from 0 to 2, right? And I'm going to say result dot append the length minus 1 minus n. And I return result. So basically what I'm saying is for n in this range, so from 0 to 2, result, so this is an empty list, result dot append from the last value. Oh, wait, oops. I need to do something. Blank. There we go. That's what I was missing. So append nums, the last value, the length of the list minus 1. So the last value of the list minus n. So the last value or the last index of our list is 2. So 2 minus n, when n starts off at 0, is 2. So we'll get the very last element. So the last element of the nums list will be the first element of result. So this will be 3. Now we run it again. So for n in range len nums, now n is equal to 1. So we say length of nums, which is 3 minus 1. Now it's 2 minus n, which is 1. So now get the first index in the nums list, which in our case is 2, and then append it to the result. Now that's also the second index of the result list. I think it's better to show than tell, so I'll print it out for you. Verse 3. All right, do you guys see how it reversed? I'll do this one too. 9, 11, 15. Yeah, see how it swapped? There's also a simpler way of doing this, which is you say return nums splice. And okay, I made a typo. Yeah. So basically what this does is it makes a copy of the list, and then this part means it reverses that copy of the list. So that's like a neat little trick you could do through splicing. So any questions so far, just type it in the chat box. If I'm being like unclear or you want me to go over something, just send me a message. I'll give you guys like 30 seconds to type anything. So I'll assume your silence means you guys have no questions. So basically in an array, find the maximum integer. So we don't actually have to define this function. There's already a function built into Python called max, which also does take in a function 1, 2, 3. And it will give you the maximum or the largest value. Huh? That's, oh, oops. Yeah, okay. What the heck? Okay, yeah, so you get 6 here. The same principle also applies to min, so min max. So you can get the minimum value from a list through this way also. but from a coding perspective, yeah. So we'll comment that one. Now count evens. So basically return the number of even integers in a given array. Note that the modular operator computes the remainder. So 5 modulo 2 is 1. So this is actually pretty simple. All we have to do is create a for loop, right? That iterates through the numbers list. So we say for n in nums, okay? Now we check for every number within the nums list, we check is if n modulo 2, which means is n divisible by 2? And if it is, let me create a count equals 0. So if we do have an even number, increase the count variable by 1. If we don't, then don't do anything. And all we do is we have to return count. So let's say print count evens, plug this in. So let's see, 2, 2, 4. Those look like even numbers to me. So those are 3 even numbers. When I run this, I should get 3. Perfect. 2, 2, 0. Those also look like even numbers to me. We should get 3. Perfect. And 1, 3, 5. Now these are all odd numbers, so we should get 0, which we do. Oh wait, I should probably move all of these. For your viewing pleasure. Dang, there's a lot of print statements here. All right. We're nearing the end, guys. Don't worry. Let's see. Yeah. Now, finally, big diff. Given an array length one or more of ints, return the difference between the largest and smallest values in the array. So what I showed you before, this is actually really, really simple. All I have to do is say return, right? The difference between the largest. So we're going to use a max function, num. So max will basically tell us the largest number in the nums array minus min, which will tell us the smallest number in the min array, in the nums array. And once we return that, we say print big diff 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. And now when we run this, we get 53, 54 minus 1. So that works. Okay, so lists are just one of the data structures. We'll be going over one more and then we'll call it a day. So let me go back to the notes. Okay. So dictionaries. What are dictionaries? Dictionaries are like maps. A dictionary is like a list, but it contains both keys and values. A dictionary is just a collection of indices that contain key value pairs, where each index also has a value associated with it. In math, this is known as mapping from keys to values, since each links or maps to a certain value. So basically what that means is there's a name associated with the value. It's kind of like variables, but like if you could have a list of variables. I'll show you. So implementation. Let's create a dictionary that translates numbers to English. So we start with an empty dictionary that looks like this, num to ing. So by using the dict keyword with the parentheses, we create an empty dictionary. You could also create an empty dictionary by using 2 curly braces, which we'll go over later. We can also create a key to value by mapping by doing so. So basically, we have the key 1, which will be set to the value. Well, okay. We have the number 1, which will be our key, which will be set to the word 1, which will create the pair 1, our key 1. Now we can do this for several keys and values. So we get the number, which will be our key, and which will be set to the word. So we have number, word, number, word, number, word. So our dictionary would look like 1, 1, 2, 2, 3, 3, and 4, 4. So now traversing dictionaries, similar to lists, you can also travel or traverse through a dictionary or go through all of the elements within a dictionary. So if you use a dictionary for a for state or for loop, it traverses the keys of the dictionary. So you say for I in num to eng. So you're saying for every single pair within num to eng, print num to eng I. So it's saying print every value in each pair. So I represents every value. Yeah, I represents. hmm. So yeah, sorry. I represents every pair within it. So when you say num to eng I, we get the value within each of those pairs. So I represents the key within num to eng, which we traverse through each value. So reverse lookup. It's very easy to find some key k for a certain value v. So we just have to look for a for loop until we find the key that corresponds to k. Let's say we wanted to use the value of b to find the corresponding value k. Then we have to do something called reverse lookup. For example, let's say we want to look up the number that corresponds to 4. Running this code, we can insert the value v and be able to find the key that corresponds to this value. So let's look at this. So basically we pass in the dictionary num to eng at dict, right? And then we pass in our value, which is 4. And then basically what we do is we say for I in dict, right? For every single pair, if dict I, so if the value, so if 1 equals value or whatever we're looking for, so looking for, right? So weird. If the value equals 4, then return I or return the key. So basically keep on going through the list. It'll say for I and dict. So in this pair, if dict I, so if 1 equals 4, it doesn't. So then I'll go back. Then I'll say 2 in dict. So the second pair, if dict I, dict 2, or the word 2 equals 4, return I. It doesn't. It keeps on doing this until finally it hits this 4, which it'll return I. So return the value 4. But let's say we were to remove, let's say the value 4 from our dictionary, then this thing would say, then it would return none because there's no value 4 within our dictionary. All right, so we're going to run a couple of practice problems and then we'll call this a day. So let me share the VS code. Any questions you guys would like me to answer, I can do it right now. Okay, so to do this one, all we had to do is we had to traverse through this string. And to do that, all we had to do is say for, it's already called S. For letter, we'll say L. You know what, we'll make it for letter in S, okay? So for letter in the word the function will be called for, we have to check if letter, oh wait, my bad, sorry. Let's restart. Okay, so what we have to do is we have to print for a given string like hi, print out a dictionary with the histogram H1, I4. So it's asking for the frequency of the letters within that particular string. Now to find that or to create a dictionary, let's start off by creating an empty one. So to do that, we'll say word frec frequency equals an empty dictionary. So you can use this notation or this. Both will both create an empty dictionary. So now we're going to say for letter in S. So for every letter in the given string, we're going to check if this letter is not in word frequency. So we're basically checking if this key exists within word frequency. If it doesn't, what we're going to do is we're going to say, okay, word frequency, letter. So letter will be our key. So letter like H or I, this will be your key. And we'll set it to the base value of 1, which means that this is the first time the loop or the code will have seen that letter, and it will add letter or this key into the dictionary with the value 1. Now let's say it has seen or letter is in the word frequency, or let's say it's already seen the letter I before. Then what we do is we say word frequency letter plus equals 1. It's kind of like the count function we made earlier. Basically, if it sees the word or the letter again, it adds the frequency by 1. And now, as the problem says, print out a dictionary. So we'll return the histogram, or we'll return the dictionary, word frequency, and we'll print histogram, and we'll put in the word hi. And now, theoretically, those look like 6 eyes to me. We get H is 1, so there's 1 H, and there's 6 eyes within our string. That's pretty cool, huh? Like, I think I can type in my name. And since spaces are technically characters, we'll probably see a space there. Huh? Okay. That's huge. Oh, cool. I have 2 A's in my name. No, 3 A's. Well, it's a capital A. So yeah, this is also case sensitive. If you wanted to make it not case sensitive, then you could say s dot lower or something like that. But oops, we won't go over that for now. Now, s dot create s. So basically, we take a string and we create a dictionary out of that. If you guys have ever messed with strings, you're probably familiar with the strip and split functions. So basically, let me show you a little demo of what a split function does. Split. So if I have a string, let's call it banana. Let's say banana. Okay, we'll call it banana. Monkey banana. Okay? I said we have something like that. Kind of similar to the dictionary notation. Now what we can do is we can kind of split monkey and banana into 2 separate values or into strings within a list using the split function. So we say split, and then we say split based on a value. So we can either split based on the space, or we can split based on the colon or any of these characters in the string. So I will split based on the colon. And now when we print banan, we should theoretically get banan. Here we go. Monkey. All right, hold up. Banan. There we go. I forgot to reassign it. But yeah, do you see how this is now within a list? Now using this list, we can create our dictionary. We're going to apply the same logic for this create s function. So first what we'll do is we'll say people equals s dot s dot split, and then we'll split based on the commas. That way we separate out. It'll be Chris 55 whatever, Akshay 77 whatever, Kate Kashup 1111 whatever. So we'll split those as separate little boxes like monkey banana. Okay, so once we split them into their own little strings, then we'll create a for loop. We'll say for person and people, right? So Chris is a person, Akshay is a person, Kate Kashup is a person. So to make it easier, I'll print people out so you can see what it looks like. Before we start, let me stop all of these. Create. Okay, so I'll pass in this create. I'll pass in the string, and can you see how we have Chris 55 in his number, Akshay in his number, Kashup in his number, all as separate strings within this list. So they're all now separate individuals. Now, when we access for person and people, right, or every element in the list, we get Chris on one line, Akshay on another line, Kashyap on another line. Okay. So what this means is we can now mess around with every single person and kind of change the values so we get our desired output, or we append it to our dictionary, or we can add it to our dictionary. So now we'll say, okay, now the thing separating Chris and the number is the colon. So what we're going to say is person.split, and then we're going to say colon. Actually, should I split? Okay, I'm going to strip, which means it removes all of the white space in the string. And then once I've done that, we'll split the value based on the colon. So what that should theoretically give us is print person. Okay. See, now what that gives us is Chris as his own entity and the number as its own entity, Akshay as his own entity, the number as its own entity. And it'll do that for every single person in that people list. Okay. So now all we have to do is we need to set Chris, Akshay, and Kashyap as the keys and set their numbers as the values. Okay. So to do that, all we have to do is now go back to the top. Let's create a empty dictionary called result. And then we'll say result. And then within the brackets, we're going to put person 0. Now, this is the first element in the list, or their name. So in our case, it'd be Chris. And we set it to now the value. So person, comma 1. Or we set it to their number. And if you want, if you don't like that itty bitty white space in the front, which I don't like, you can say strip, which will remove any white space. And you can put that, so I'll remove that. And then finally, to finish the problem, we have to return the dictionary. So we'll say return result. And then we'll run that. Oh, oops. I had to call this. I had to print this out, or else you can't see the value. Print, create. And you should see Chris with his number, Akshay with his number, and Kashyap with his number. So that's how we finish this create function. Pretty cool, huh? And to wrap it up, I think we'll just do the add s function. So a cool thing you can do with functions is you can actually add a parameter with a default value. So I can say default equals, and oh, okay, you can't use, that's a keyword. So we'll say default equals young boy. And then we put that within quotations to signify it's a string. Okay, for example. Oh, this is pretty simple. So to add the value in s to young boy, we will use the thing that we created up top here. So person. So we'll be given a string yo blah. So to fix this, all we have to do is say s.split, and we split based on the colon. So we'll have yo as its own element and blah as its another element. Okay. And what we can do is we can say default dot update. What do I want to do? Oh yeah, okay. Default. I mean, let's see. Okay, I guess we have to create a temporary dictionary. So we'll say temp equals, actually, sorry, my bad. Okay, so we'll say temp equals s dot s of 0 colon. So basically temp equals the first item of the list, or in our case, yo, and will equal, and the value will be blah. So remember, to remove any white space, we're going to use the strip function. So now our temporary value is now, our temporary variable now holds a dictionary that says yo blah, or whatever the value that will be given by s. Now, in order to make sure it's added to this young boy dictionary, we're going to basically say default dot update. Now what update does is it'll add the value of another dictionary into it. So now we have to update default with s. And then to wrap it up, we return default. So let's run it. Print add. And then we're going to put in yo blah as our test. And let's see if it works out. Holy, we have an error. Dictionary update sequence element has length 3. 2 is required. What does it mean? Oh, oops. I put S. I meant to put temp. Yeah. So now you see young boy, yo blah. You see that? Now we've updated. So let's do a little quick rundown. So let's print out S after we split it to show you what it looks like. Where is, yeah, okay. Now, when we split it, we get this. We get our first element, which will be our key, yo, and our second element, blah, which will be our value. Then we say s of 0 or yo dot strip. Strip will basically remove this white space. So we say yo will be our key, and this colon signifies that whatever comes after it will be the value. So in our case, s of 1 or blah. So set blah dot strip. So it'll remove that white space, that pesky white space, and it'll create that into a temporary dictionary. Then using the default dictionary that we have in our parameter over here, it'll update or add the temporary dictionary into it. So basically the yo blah dictionary or the yo blah temporary dictionary we made here will be updated or added to default. So when we return default, we get young boy and yo blah as 2 separate pairs. Okay. And to wrap it up, we'll do this one. Okay. This one I'll kind of speed run. So now it says move entry 5-0. Now to make this a lot easier, we'll just start off with that. So to remove an entity based on its key, similar to list, we'll use something called pop. Now what pop will allow us to do is based on the key, we can move that entire pair. So we'll pop 5. Now just to make sure that it was popped, let's run a print statement. And let's see, addict. Addict. That's so weird. Okay, so we'll print it, and we got none. Wait, why is that? Oh, my. Yeah, no, we don't have to print it because it's not returning any values yet. So all we have to say is addict, and we see 6, 0. That's all that's left. 5, the value, the value pair with the key of 5 is now gone. Now using the same update strat, what we have to do is we have to update dictionary for. So we're going to say dict4.update. And then what we're going to do is we're going to add dict1. So we'll say, wait, dict4.update. dict1.update, dict2. Okay, so basically we're saying add dictionary 2 to dictionary 1, okay, and then add these 2 dictionaries into 4, right? But now we're missing our boy 3. So we're going to say dict2.update dictionary 3. That way, what we basically have done, that's why I was tripping. basically we're saying, okay, dictionary. Oh, oops, sorry. Yeah, so basically what we're saying is, okay, add the values of dictionary 1, which adds the values of dictionary 2, which adds the values of dictionary 3. So basically, more simpler is dictionary 2 gets combined with dictionary 3. So you get these two values are now one big dictionary here. Then dictionary 1 combines with these two. So these three all become one big dictionary over here. And now dictionary 4, which is empty, now gets added or updated with all of these values, minus 5, of course, to get finally the updated dict 4, which will return. And we'll print addict to check out if it worked. And none type is not iterable. Oh, okay. I think I know why. We'll just say dict 4 equals that. And that should, okay. Since it's a function, I guess it doesn't return that value or the dictionary back. So basically all the added or this dictionary will be updated. So all we have to do is just say dict 4 equals dict 1. And then, huh? That's odd. Dictionary 1. Okay, I think I have to do this step by step then. And then we say dict 2. Yeah, okay, yeah, I had to do it step by step. Now, as you can see at the bottom, 110, 220, 330, 440, and 660. By popping it earlier, we removed the value with the key of 5. And by updating it, we basically added all of the values of 3 into dictionary 2. So we updated 2 with those values. Then using dict 1, we updated all of those values to dictionary 1. And then finally, we reassigned dictionary 4 to the newly assigned with all of the values, dictionary 1. And then we finally return it, getting our value. So that's all to wrap it up for today. Are there any questions you guys would like to ask or anything you want to go over with me? That's all for data structures. Thanks for having you. Thanks for